This episode of UberCube is brought to you by the most ridiculous cards that have ever been printed, or at least the ones that my wonderful co-host Anthony and I are looking at right now.
He's a bad boy.
I don't know what to say about that. Welcome to UberCube, the podcast where we discuss all things Cube, but with refreshments. Today, well, it's in October, it's 2025. And this should be releasing just shortly after CubeCon 2025. So we're recording this pre-CubeCon. Right, if you're on your road trip, hope you had fun. Hope you won. Hope you enjoyed.
Levity. We're actually probably going to talk about. So yeah, it's the spooky season. We know this, but also, you know, we're looking at Stu's Diablo Cube, and it's going to be adjacent, but you can do this in all your cubes. And it's about adding kind of we've talked about aesthetics, we've talked about flair, but what about fun? What about like something that someone looks at and they kind of snicker? And we were like sitting here going, man, what are we going to talk about? Like, I wanted to record another episode. And Stu, what did I just tell you a few seconds ago? What card are we going to talk about?
Okay, so we'll start with this card. But I feel like, and again, as Anthony mentioned, so we started looking through my Diablo Cube. Anthony was looking for a combination of cards that fit the playable aspects of the cube, right? How the cube plays, but then also the vibe and the theme. And he pointed out some cards. Some of them, he was like, what on earth is that card doing in your cube? That card's trash. I said, yes, but it's in there for flavor. I'll talk about a couple of those in a second. But there's some of them that are in here for flavor that, first of all, this one we're going to talk about is like, I love this card.
Do it.
You ready?
Yeah, he's a bad
All right,
boy.
Here it is. All right, first card we're going to talk about today. Getting right into it. By the way, we're drinking, what is this? Peach IPA? Peachy Little Thing IPA. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thanks, Anthony.
We're already in it.
All right, first one. Possessed Goat. First of all, yes, this is a Magic the Gathering card.
Oh, it's so
and yes,
good.
this is called Possessed Goat. It's from Duskmourn, if I remember correctly.
What else represents Halloween besides
a possessed goat?
Possessed goat.
Yeah, other than the skeletons and the vampires and the ghosts,
you know what? Those
and all that.
You actually mentioned this before. We're so kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? We're so
stupid,
desensitized.
Desensitized. Okay, we'll go with that.
That we can get over like a skeleton walks up to you, like, yeah, I saw that in The Walking Dead, whatever. But a possessed goat comes up to you. I mean, what do you do?
Well, first of all, I'm trying to think. I think it was a deer that had the head mounted on the wall of the cabin in Evil Dead 2.
Oh, it's
you remember the laughing deer? I'll never forget the first time I watched that, and I was like, I'm dying laughing with my roommate. So, Possessed Goat, 1 white mana, 1/1. Pay 3, discard a card, put 3 1/1 counters on Possessed Goat, and it becomes a black demon in addition to its other colors and types. Activate only once. Let's talk about all the wonderful utility that this card offers, right? So you're getting +1/+1 counters. I don't know if you know this, but there are literally actually, I don't even know if there's ways to interact with +1/+1 counters in this cube. So it's not even that it synergizes with the rest of the cube as far as the counters are concerned. And I'm saying that because it's my cube and I know it so well that I don't even know how well it interacts with +1/+1 counters.
Doesn't
so I'm
matter.
completely guessing. Does it matter? Who cares? We're just waffling about this Possessed Goat card because what is it?
It's shock and awe.
It's fun. It's absolutely hilarious. I want players to be like, why is there a possessed goat? First of all, why is it in this cube? Secondly, why does it exist in the first place?
And I think it's okay that you have that. I guess we're doing a little bit of like a blend in this we're spooky season, so we're going to do scary. Oh, man. But we're also going to do, well, that card's funny. It made me snicker. While we're rolling through the list, you know, and I'm like, Possessed Goat. I want to talk about that, Stu, like right now. What's your logic? What's your reasoning? And there doesn't have to be any. It literally can be for the comedic value. It could be for the stop during the draft and someone snickers. Or this card is actually really powerful because our good friend Nathan actually runs this in the Ghostbusters cube, which is on purpose, on theme in that cube as well, too.
Well, let's okay. Memes aside, jokes aside, it does become a demon. This is a Diablo cube, so kind of the demonic theme is definitely on flavor for the cube. Do you want to know one of the other reasons why it's in here?
You're huge into petting zoos.
I'm huge into goats, just period. I love me goats, love me a goat. I've spent a lot of time recently, and Anthony and I were actually talking about this. So we were talking about this cube sort of between recordings. And one of the points that I made was that I have spent quite a bit of time recently kind of equalizing and normalizing the colors when it comes to the mana value, right? It was a huge spread in the first iteration. The cube really didn't start until turn 3, maybe, was when things started happening. And I don't want to say it was something that I received criticism about, but I kind of got comments about that with some raised eyebrows, like, is that really where you want the cube to start? And I thought, no, that's not really what I want, because I feel like, you know, Diablo is an RPG series. I wanted something. You don't just start on level 3.
But
nothing happens.
You were throttling. We kind of went off topic.
I throttled I wanted the big power plays.
Pretend we have a new listener. What's the point of the Diablo Cube? This is your first. It's digitized. If you haven't listened to the digital episode,
it is. Yes.
But tell people what you're trying to do here.
So
we'll build up from there.
Okay. So I was trying to make a cube that was reflective of the themes and the vibe overall, specifically of the first 2 games in the Diablo series that was originally created by Blizzard North and Blizzard back in the 90s, 97 and 99, I believe. Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 were released. And this was a big part of my late teen years, was playing Diablo 1 and then Diablo 2. I've got more hours in Diablo 2 than I care to discuss with anybody. It's almost embarrassing at this point. But I've loved the game. I loved the aesthetics. I loved the atmosphere. Like, everything was kind of what I was always looking for in a video game. So I wanted to recreate that in a thematic way in a cube. And this is where this cube was born.
So as we're scrolling through the cube, he wanted me, in between episodes, he wanted me to kind of just look at his cube, look at his changes, and I asked him to put it in a full spoiler view. He's scrolling through.
Yeah.
He's talking about CMC, mana value, whatnot. And I'm just asking, why is this card in here? So we're kind of bouncing around topics a little bit here. And as we come across the Possessed Goat, which makes me giggle every time I see the card, which I adore this about that, it's kind of a flavor when I have to ask. It creates like this spontaneity, this question, like, why is this card in here? And then what makes this idea so special from a thematic design is when Stu gets to explain to me. I'm not a Diablo player. I don't know these. I don't know the lore. I never really played the games too much. I understand the concept of it. I may.
You should.
I may and I will. But it's really neat when you get to interact at a level and ask someone to explain the purpose of a card outside of the power level. It's more of like an art-driven exercise.
Especially someone that we've now been doing this podcast for 3.5 years. We've been talking about Magic. We've been talking about Cube for much longer than that. And now this is the first time that you get to listen to me talk about why I'm doing something. Because let's be honest, I have drilled you about your cubes for 5 plus 6 years now, at least. So now you get to kind of give what you've been receiving, right? And give me some feedback and some criticism about some of the choices.
So I'll include in the show notes for the sake of the list. But to understand the point of view, what I'm doing is we're just sitting here hanging out in our little studio, and I'm scrolling through the list, and then I'm going like, why is this card in here? I actually started growing, like, as we've played this and we've had reps, I'm starting to have a level of acceptance in some of the card choices. So some of the examples would be, in the beginning, you may have heard me challenge the idea of, why is Northern Paladin here? Why is Southern Paladin here? You know, but I've gotten to play the cube. It's slower. And these cards that you pay 2 white mana or 2 red mana or whatever you pay, and you destroy an opposing color, it's really interesting.
So, first of all, I love that you called out specifically the Paladins, because this was, and there's other cards in the cube that I have added that have this seemingly on the surface extremely expensive and very kind of, why is this in the cube? It's too slow. It's not ever, it's going to be, it's a sideboard card at best, if it even belongs in the cube at all. But Paladin is such an iconic character. It's a playable character in the Diablo series. I took every opportunity that I could realistically to put Paladins in the cube.
Well,
had to do it.
You're thinking about this too much. What I'm trying to say, it's more interesting for me to interact with you as the curator. And I want to kind of cite this towards like Parker Lamaskis from Lucky Paper Radio that talked about this idea of having these cards in here that maybe they're not on rate very good. Maybe they're not, they're not, I mean, I'll just put it, maybe they're borderline playable, definitely sideboard cards. However, in that draft, it is so interesting, or in this case, I'm just scrolling, I'm cheating ahead and I'm scrolling through your list, right?
Sure.
But pretend we're on your digital version of MTGO.
Yeah.
these start conversations like, hey, Stu, why is Northern Paladin in this cube?
Right.
And you get to explain that. The joy of the idea. And I'm still going to tell you it's a terrible Magic card, but I actually get the flair.
Yes.
Like, it's
There's a reason for it.
It's your reason.
It's my reason.
It's a very personalized reason. I'm not saying go ham here and start adding bad Magic cards to your cube that are borderline unplayable. I did say that out loud. I'm saying there is a certain aesthetic virtue to the idea of making me stop and go, hey, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt the draft, but why is the goat in here? I mean, what are you doing with this? Right?
Okay.
It's so neat, though.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the goat. Right, this is why we started. We looked at the goat, and
goat-centric episode.
Anthony. Well, the first card we chose was Vantress Gargoyle, which is another card that's in the cube.
I said it was Batman.
It's like a Batman kind of card. Well, then we got to the goat. I'll be honest, and this is a very cube and playable and design sort of decision. One of the reasons, in fact, maybe the primary reason why it's in here is because it was so difficult for me to find 1-drops in white to add to this cube that were on flavor. Are goats in Diablo? Yes, there are. There are goat men in Diablo 2. And there are demons. And I get to have a goat and a demon all in one card. So the flavor is there.
There's a certain amount of like whimsy in that idea.
100%.
And that's what I get.
Yes.
That's a vibe. This is so neat. Like, this would almost make sense if you made this into a bar cube. This would be more lighthearted.
Yes.
Right? But I do dig this. And as we kind of build up to this idea, I'm encouraging you, if you're going to build a cube that's on theme, it's okay if you put a few like trace elements of an idea, something that gives you a snicker, a giggle, or an advanced conversation, a deep conversation, something profound, right? Like, you could really tell a story through your Magic card choices. And I'm getting that live as you're listening.
Okay. So one of the things that kind of inspired me in a way, if you will, if you're a Commander player, you'll know that there is this new bracket system for Commander, right? 1 through 5, 1 being your, absolute mishmash, giraffe chaff, whatever, all the way up to the most highly optimized decks in bracket 5. So someone made a meme about Cube that way, right? And one of the brackets was a bunch of cards that I just pulled out of a box from nowhere, Commander cards that have absolutely no place being in the cube whatsoever. And I will say I was howling when I said, I don't know who made that. If you're listening to this podcast,
I think it was Dan
all the
Schneider.
love. If Dan Schneider made it, all the love. It would kind of fit with
but it's
with
fantastic.
Them. It's wonderful. So that was something that I thought, you know what, Cube. People who enjoy Cube and people who are not just in it for the super competitive side of Magic, who just enjoy the fact that people will put cards in their cube because of the flavor, because of the fun, because of the whimsy. I love the whimsy is so beautiful a term to describe it, but that's not the only reason that it's in there. But I feel like that's an easy explanation for a card that is in there for good flavor purposes, but sometimes you just got to have fun. The other one that sparked the conversation, Vantress Gargoyle, right? I actually really like this card. This is 1 and a blue for a 5/4 flying artifact creature gargoyle. It can't attack unless defending player has 7 or more cards in their graveyard, and it can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in your hand. For a slower cube like this was originally, there's been a lot of change to it recently, but that's not too difficult.
You have a self-mill package.
And I do have self-mill.
That's not the reason why I stopped and I giggled. The reason why I stopped and giggled, because literally the art is saying, I'm Batman. And it's fantastic. I don't know if he's saying it that way, but I love, when I'm looking through this, the aesthetic choices that you've made.
Yes.
I don't understand your Diablo world.
Right.
All I know is I tripped across a goat, I tripped across a gargoyle, and they brought me joy.
There was a lot more gargoyles in here.
And they sparked a conversation.
They've gone.
That's
the
ultimately
poor
what's
gargoyles.
happening as you spark. Have you put Stonecloak in here? Stonecloak is so good, by the way.
No.
Oh,
Stonecloak is not in here.
That card should be in here 100%. We'll talk about that.
All right, that's a post-recording discussion.
Such a great card.
Yeah, so that's been some of these decisions, like I said, have been in this effort that I've been making recently to kind of normalize and equalize the CMCs, to speed the cube up a little bit, add some 1-drops, some 2-drops.
I want to counterpoint that though. So, when we first looked at this,
do you think I should have kept it slow? I don't think I should.
Yeah, a little slow. So when we look at it first and we're playing it online, everybody's like, this card is so slow.
It's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
Why is it here?
But we started developing this level of acceptance. Now you're going into this optimization, pulling in mana value and all that. There's a counterpoint to this idea.
Kind of. I'll counterpoint to your counterpoint.
Yeah, but you can see the problem here.
I can.
As you're trying to curve in and make this a nice developed cube, but we started kind of accepting, well, I'm going to pay 7 for my giant threat.
You're still going to pay 7.
Yeah, you see where I'm going.
You're still going to pay 7. However, what I didn't want is for it to be you're doing nothing for the first 3 or 4 turns, and then if the opponent just gets a little luckier with their 5 and 6 drops that they manage to draw, as well as the fact that they just reach the required amount of mana to cast their big haymakers, that it just becomes non-attrition. It just becomes way too luck-based that you get your big haymakers down. I know that Magic has kind of had that element to it from time to time, right? If not a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. If you get your big haymakers down, you get them in earlier than your opponent, a lot of the times that gives you a big advantage. What I didn't want was what I felt was the case with the first iteration of the cube, was that you were doing so little in the first couple of turns, that first 3 or 4 turns at times, that it felt like there just wasn't enough gameplay and interaction going on. So one of the things that I've leaned into a little bit, and it's just one, but we'll talk about it because Anthony mentioned that it's something that he particularly liked, was the tap package. There is a tap package.
I love it.
So a lot of the time it's tap a creature with, power 4 or greater. Let's just pull that one out, right? So you now have, it's not a game-winning play, right? Or maybe it is by the time turn 6, turn 7 comes along. It absolutely could be. But it's not such a game-breaking play early on, but it has the ability to be something that can be meaningful earlier on because you're developing a board presence, but then also something that's relevant as you get towards the late game.
So let's kind of peel this back a little, or pull it back a little bit, kind of keep it spooky season oriented. So I encourage you to check out this cube. I adore it. I love it. I know we're pulling the curves in, and I'm getting used to that. Like, I actually started accepting the wider range, right?
Sure.
However, tell us a little bit about the horror aspects of Diablo outside of the goat, which made me laugh. It's a horror goat.
It is.
What's the scary parts of this game?
I'll tell you the scary part. So the original Diablo came out in 1997. So I was 18.
That makes it scary just from a platform.
It does. That's a long time ago. I was 18 years of age at that point, and was it this episode or a previous one you talked about I think it was this one, you talked about being desensitized.
Yeah.
I would say by the time I was 18, I was definitely getting towards that. I think nowadays we're in the 2025, the internet has kind of desensitized people from a lot of things, right? A lot more stuff is available to especially visual sort of desensitization. Right. I can imagine, and I've listened to people talk about this, especially younger people, 14, 13, maybe around that age. Right. And in fact, the first time I played Diablo 1 was at my friend's girlfriend's house on a PC that was bought for my friend's girlfriend's little brother by their mother, who was never home.
This is about the same time I was playing The Seventh Guest, which terrified
me.
I
remember Seventh Guest as well.
Terrifying games, but desensitization, that word, has definitely occurred, right? We've had so much, I guess,
horror elements.
The genre,
vampires are normal. Twilight.
It's come at us left and right.
It's all mainstream nowadays. It's cool. Goth is cool.
But this was frightening in the beginning, right? So you had like ghouls and you had skeletons.
It was terrifying.
Zombies.
It was terrifying. I will say, anyone who is a listener of ours, right? If you were, I don't really care how old you were, but the first time, if you played this back in the day when you were playing on little CRT monitors, especially late at night.
That's
cathode ray tube, right?
That's
when you first heard fresh meat. Fresh meat. Right? Sorry, that's my best butcher impression. But the butcher is one of the monsters in Diablo 1. And I'm like walking through this dungeon with my archer, right? So I've got a little bow, or my warrior with his sword. And all of a sudden, this demon just sprinting at me from nowhere and just yells like that. I am my pants. I'm not going to lie. Not to, put too fine a point on it, but there was nothing like it before that. There was this, all of a sudden, I'm in this gloomy, dark. The music of Matt Uelmen is just legendary.
I remember
that's the horror.
I remember playing The Seventh Guest.
Seventh Guest was frightening.
I think it was Strom was the name of the main character. But we're at the end of the game, and at the end, there's a random Cerebus that just jumps out. And it comes out, and we got our speakers turned up. We're completely darked out, and we're enjoying this game, me and my buddy Terry, and this dog, this three-headed dog creature, the gates of hell, just burst out in our really bad...
Cerberus is no joke.
It's
no joke.
Really scary CRT
it's very
format,
scary.
right?
Yeah.
This was running off of CD-ROMs at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I think we had 4 CD-ROMs, maybe 5. We're like on the 4th one here now. You got the computer's screaming. All you can hear is...
Yeah.
But then this giant... just boom comes out. And I remember Terry's mom rushing in like, what are you boys doing? At this point, I have flipped my chair. We're not ready for this level of horror. We're not desensitized at this point from this. So as you're kind of coming back to this, you're folding in Diablo, you're bringing back a lot of memories for people that played this. In that game, you said the sounds were aesthetic.
Yes. Everything.
How was the lighting?
No, it was dark. I mean, in Diablo 1, so Diablo 2, there was a lot more outside. Diablo 1, you start out in a town. You've got a handful of NPCs that offer little services, like you can buy weapons, repair your weapon, heal yourself, that kind of stuff. But the entirety of the game, you enter into a cathedral church that's right on the outskirts of the town, Tristram. There's a dead warrior normally right on the outside. Avenge us, King Leoric led us down here to a trap, yada, yada, yada. And you go in and you just descend down 16 levels of deeper and darker and more frightening and more demonic and more just... I don't know how else to describe it. It got more and more scarier as it went on. The demons and the monsters got more and more frightening and more dangerous the deeper that you went. So there was, and like I said, for anyone, if you're a millennial, if you were born in the last 20 years or even 30 years, having something like this that was so new, there was nothing really like it at the time. The atmosphere, I think that's what. All right, I'm going to bring up an age-old discussion of ours. Do you want to know why Alien is a far better movie than Aliens? Because of the atmosphere. Because there's one alien. Because of the horror. Because of the just abject fear that you can put yourself in through every one of them crew members. That there doesn't have to be hordes and hordes and machine guns. The fact that there is one thing that's after you. That's not the case necessarily with Diablo. You've got a bunch of monsters. But that fear element is what made the game. The atmosphere is what made it so incredible. I could talk about the RPG elements. I could talk about the looting and finding new gear and all that. And that was wonderful. That's a very difficult thing, and I would say almost impossible thing to capture within something like Magic, because the looting is almost the top of your deck, right? Every time you draw a card, it's like, ooh, what do I get next? But the atmosphere that I'm trying to create is with the playable characters, like the assassin and the paladin, and there's a sorceress, which is kind of like the wizardy kind of element of Magic, and some of the monsters. So you've got devils. There aren't... there's not exact matches everywhere, but like I say, zombies and skeletons and stuff like that. So just trying to grab the elemental parts of it.
What's fascinating, again, going back to it, is the passion of the designer, of
you
the
can
curator.
See me right now. I'm salivating about it. I want to go play Diablo 1 right now.
So I want to ask you about like the chamber of manipulation. What's this card do, and how does it equate to what you're trying to translate? What's the vibe? So I see this card. It's outside of what I know in the Magic universe.
Yeah.
I know this card's been around for a long time. I'm just not familiar with it. This is during my hiatus.
Right.
But now I'm applying this to your environment.
Yeah.
And you're now setting an aesthetic. What are you trying to do with a card like this?
So first of all, this is very much more in the Diablo 2, I suppose, because, so for anyone, Chamber of Manipulation, 2 colorless, 2 blue, enchant land. Enchanted land has tap. Discard a card from your hand, gain control of target creature until end of turn. So first of all, this idea that you can take control of things, there is an element of that within Diablo 2. Secondly, the fact that you've got this really cool, like medieval architecture almost, like with the pillars and the stone, and you've got the dragons and like this
nice
demonic kind of
pillars.
Exactly, like
yeah.
This is very much more so like an interior aesthetic kind of card, right? So I think about how some of the inner and like sanctuarial kind of levels
like
are
a
constructed.
Foggy kind of
exactly
vista about it.
Yep.
It draws you into this space.
Like that is scary to me.
Yeah, you've opened
just
the
art.
Yeah, you've opened the doors. You got your torch.
Yeah.
you don't want to be in this room.
No, I don't.
You have to find something in this room.
If you opened your front door and saw that in front of you, I am, again, as I've previously mentioned, pants and running for my life. Like, that to me is like, that brings back, it evokes memories. And so much of the art that is in these cards are... And I will say it's the Diablo Cube. I'm trying to be as true to Diablo as I can. But a lot of it is just things that evoke sort of fear within sort of the realm of horror and horror RPGs and the kind of the vibe that I always loved about Diablo. Let's talk about the card that you've got highlighted.
I'm going to say it's Limb Duel Necromancer. And I remember, actually, I had this card. I had it for a long time ago. When I first started playing Commander, it was in my old binders. This is before we actually really knew how to make a deck that had any form of synergies or cohesion whatsoever. And I asked Stu, why are you running this in your environment? And I think it goes back to that horror aesthetic, more of this.
It does.
There's a degree of meme in this cube, but it's your personal meme. You can call it meme because I giggled at the goat, but the goat means a little bit more to you than it does to me.
Yeah.
And you can have those flavor wins in a cube environment. And it's not overtaking, like, this is just one of, 25, 30 cards that are in the color black, right? You made a choice to implant a card, and I've got a couple of them in here that are a little memey. To me, looking, as I'm drafting, I'm looking from the outside, not understanding your intent, your giggles, and now you're providing me, I want you to explain to me why Limb Duel Necromancer, why's it got to be in this cube?
Okay, so first of all, it's the Necromancer. So this is a big Diablo 2 character. There is a class called the Necromancer in Diablo 2. Very, very fun character to play, right? So let's start there. Secondly, it has the following, right? So let's talk about the card. It is 5 colorless and 2 black for Limb Duel the Necromancer for a 4/4 legendary creature human wizard. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 1 and a black. If you do, return that card to play under your control. If it's a creature, it's a zombie in addition to its other creature types. And you can pay 1 and a black to regenerate target zombie. So this has a very Raising the Dead, reanimation kind of vibe about it. This was and is a very, very popular build in Diablo 2. There was like a Summon-mancer, as it was called. So the whole idea of the build was that you would raise things from the dead. You would raise skeletons, you could raise other zombies, you could actually raise monsters that you'd killed. To me, this is the card that we've got the paladins in there. We've got representations of like the assassin and the sorceress and stuff like that. This is the closest representation in a single card to a playable class in Diablo or Diablo 2 on a single card. Like, this is the Necromancer in a card. Like, at least the Summon-mancer in a card. It's perfection. I love the art. Matt Cavotta has got this wonderful, like, you've got the Necromancer's face. It's also got like this cool like eye on this. You see that like right there? Look, I'm pointing at it. There's the eye. Like, it's wonderful. This to me, flavor wise, if I was to, I don't have this as like the card image for the cube on Cube Cobra because honestly, the Diablo card, like the Balrog of Moria, is just wonderful. But this is the closest alignment to the classes.
Now I'm going to give you the player aspect. This is in my sideboard every time.
No, it's not.
It will be.
Heck no. You're playing this card. If you get it down, anytime you can kill something or something
6.
dies, yeah, you pay 2 and you get it back.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
Anytime one of your opponents
you've toned the speed back of this cube so much from the mechanical aspect that it does allow you to actually play a card like this that I would have called, I don't know, trappy, not even sideboard. Like, what is this in here for? But if you can appreciate...
Black is a pretty slow color in this
If you can
cube.
appreciate what you're trying to do here, it might be...
Yes.
This is a support mechanism.
It's going to need some testing. If it just is absolutely... No one ever gets to use the activated ability. If the regenerate target zombie, all right, it's probably not happening on the turn that it comes down
it's
unless you're like 10 turns in.
It's just a very unusual, I guess, for lack of better terms, unusual kind of card for someone that's just trying to do an optimal draft, right? Say
No doubt.
I come in.
This is not a play to win card.
I'm a premium. I'm a vintage cube drafter, and I come
Yes.
in and I see Limdul the Necromancer and this power goat.
Yeah.
I can see that, and I'm trying to capture your vision. And maybe some people won't take the time to even understand that. That is something that can occur. But for those that know you and adore you and love you, we do take the time to ask, what in the hell is Limdul? But you explain it so eloquently, we will allow it.
Thank you.
I have another card too. There's a couple of them. We first looked at this, so I've gotten in this kind of, I don't really mean like I'm in this optimization state in my curation, but I am always looking for, the peaks of power, trying to push the envelope on Magic, right? And so when he came out with this cube, I think this cube is most, if I had to find an analog, it's very similar to the Fey cube in its aspects.
Yeah.
Right? And I can see where you're doing. Had I not had that as something like a control to understand what you're trying to do,
Agreed.
I wouldn't have understood your vision so
Sure,
much, right?
yeah.
But I do appreciate it. This next one is Treacherous Vampire.
Okay.
This is also another card that I'm like, why is this in here? Why is this so important? This art, though, is absolutely terrifying. Going back to our horror talk, it's a few of these cards that are like, yeah, that's just a zombie. Neat. And then some of these are extremely unsettling. If for those that haven't looked at Treacherous Vampire,
it's frightening.
This is terrifying. This is not something you want to see in the sky. There's some things you want to see and not this thing.
It's Kev Walker. Kev Walker's art, maybe, I would say, pretty sure Kev Walker is literally the most prevalent, most represented Magic artist of all time. I think Kev Walker has more art and Magic cards than any other artist.
I can neither confirm.
I'm pretty sure.
Statement.
Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
The internet's
I don't know.
chew you up for that.
If you can confirm that, write it on a bottle of scotch and send it to me. But Kev Walker is like one of my favorite art. I love Kev Walker's art. He's just got a gazillion like really iconic cards. But yeah, Treacherous Vampire. Okay, it's 4 and a black, 4/4 creature vampire flying. So again, you're paying 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer.
This is much better than Limdul.
No, it's not.
7 for a 4/4. This is a 4/4 flyer. At least I can win through flying.
No. Limdul is far superior to this card.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely
Let's just
see
get that. Okay. Whenever Treacherous Vampire attacks or blocks, sacrifices unless you remove a card in your graveyard from the game.
Sure. Helps your self-mill strategy, whatnot.
Not really, because you're not milling, you're exiling a card. So I don't know if I would say that.
You have to fill it.
You have to fill your graveyard.
To get your
That's
4/4
pretty easy with black. Black has ways to get things in the graveyard. You're removing stuff, your creatures will die, whatever. It also has threshold. Treacherous Vampire gets +2/+2 and has when Treacherous Vampire is put into a graveyard from play, you lose 6 life. Tick tock.
Look how Magic has grown.
Yeah. All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah, is it the goat again?
No, I think we've done enough goat talking, but we're going to scare people with... tell us about this one that you've got for us today. This is a Rally Brewing Company offering.
Porter. We're going to crack these open because we are
Crack it.
mid-episode. We are doing back-to-back here. But... I kind of wanted to keep the horror flow in corporation with the idea of the Diablo, because I think Diablo has a lot to offer here, and we're kind of wrapping up here. It's meant to be a fun, as we said, whimsical,
yes,
have a good time. How to make Magic cards. I guess support your aesthetic. Maybe a conversation starter.
Yes.
Again, right? Some of these, again, they're not going to be the peaks of power. I assure you,
they're not.
And if you're looking at Power Max, this is not a cube for you. But if you want to sit around and go, hey, Stu, what is the reason for this card's existence? Why is this in here? The goat we talked about. I mean, it made me laugh, and I actually do love that card. Why is Hellfire in this cube? Tell us about Hellfire. Why is this Magic card so good and so bad at the same time?
So, first of all, it's... Okay, let's talk Hellfire. This is 2 colorless and 3 black for a sorcery. Destroy all non-black creatures. Hellfire deals X plus 3 damage to you, where X is the number of creatures put into all graveyards this way.
That is risk reward.
That is risk reward. No doubt about it. Okay, so first of all, there's not much in the way of sweepers in this cube.
I don't recall there being much of any except for the giant
There's
flame
none.
wave.
There's that, yes. So this is a destroy. There is flame wave. I think that's what it's called, right? So flame wave is a 4 damage to each creature and 4 damage to the opponent, which is obviously pretty powerful.
Very expensive. You did this
very,
through
very
intent, just
expensive.
like Hellfire.
Very intentional.
You have mechanically, you've inserted a high cost which I do appreciate, to your board wipes. Your board wipes are very thin.
Yes.
There's not many.
There's not.
And they are high cost.
There might be more.
And they have a drawback.
There might be more in the future. I'm trying to figure out a way to insert board wipes that are not like your four mana damnations or supreme verdicts. I feel like 5 is probably a good spot. This is 5.
This is triple black 5.
It's
this
triple
is
black
not
5.
just 5.
It's triple black 5.
This is a commitment.
Let's be fair, though. One thing that I will say, the fixing is pretty good in this cube.
It's not.
It is very good.
It's terrible.
It's incredible.
Actually,
all right, it's reasonable at best.
It's really bad,
but
I'm saying that for a reason.
There's 55 non-basics in the cube.
Really
you got
bad, and they come to play tap. But there's actually a functional reason for that, because they throttle the speed of this environment.
They do.
Which is terrifying in its own self.
That's right.
It's
That's
part
the
of,
fear.
It's part of your
That's
horror.
part of the fear.
Yeah, it's part of the fear is like, why does this hitter play tap? But I'd rather get this vexing devil out now. But you see the problem here, right?
Well, that's the other thing. Okay, so actually a change recently in the cube that I made. You are right that all the fixing previously, if you wanted anything, was coming into play tapped, right? There is now the landscapes, which
love the landscapes. Any curator is looking for a budget option.
Well, these these are not budget. These are not just budget they are budget. These are in the vintage cube. I think this is a conversation for another episode, but I'm seeing these in vintage cube list. I think they're in the Moto vintage list.
Don't make those go up in price right now. Our secret sauce is to be able to play these.
They're very, very good.
They're very good.
These do allow you to get a basic, which will come in tapped. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. The fixing is questionable at best. It's a lot of tapped stuff. That is something that originally when I first built the list that I was going to build in paper, I included all the fetch lands, dual lands, the whole 9 yards.
And then you saw the price.
And then I saw the price.
That's terrifying. That's Halloween.
You're not wrong. You're not
Halloween
wrong.
incarnate.
That is scary. I'm not completely opposed to doing that in the online version. I think if I was going to do that, I actually would like to do that, but because I think it's inevitable, one day I will build a vintage cube online as well. I think I'll do it. Anyway, Hellfire. 2 and 3 black for a sweeper. Why is it in here? Because look at it. First of all, the name is Hellfire.
Yep.
Right?
I get this one I had no question about the aesthetics.
Hellfire is a mod for Diablo 1. There is a Diablo 1. It's an expansion.
The word Diablo implies
incredible.
that this may or may not.
It's incredible.
It's so good.
It's a super expensive card as well in paper. So thankfully that the MTGO version was like dirt cheap. But
so let me ask you a question based on that for the listeners, because I'm going to check you now. You've built this. You're going to keep tweaking this. We're going to enjoy this online. Will you ever make this in paper?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that I will. So one of the reasons
what's our percentage we may see this year? We've made our memes
this year. Okay, so I'm about to spend $30,000 on a bathroom. So this year is becoming less likely. This was something that we just decided kind of on a whim in the last. When my wife and I started smashing down walls, we got demo, which I love demo, right? So, we decided to do a bathroom. It's actually one of the reasons why, and I'm joking a little bit, we decided this a few months ago that we were going to do our bathroom. It's one of the reasons why I'm unfortunately not going to CubeCon or really anywhere right now, is because I have this remodel that I'm doing for my house as well as some other projects. But honestly, I'm very small percentage this year. But this is happening in paper. And one of the reasons why I wanted to build this online, first of all, I don't want to say surprisingly because of the amount of meme and hilarious cards that are in this cube, but the amount of money as far as tickets is concerned for me to build this cube, this was dirt cheap to build online. Like really dirt cheap. I would say probably $10 to $15 maybe I've got into this cube. I'm not kidding. It was dirt cheap to build online. In paper, it's going to be a lot more. And if I want to improve the mana base, which I think I will do, it's going to cost a little bit more money. But honestly, I wanted the reps. I think if I'd have just built the first iteration of this cube that I had that we very first played, I don't think it would have been fun.
I'm going to offer a challenge based on that. And I think some of the listeners might say this. So it's almost like I want to keep this in a digitized state for as long as I can until I feel like I'm comfortable to release this in paper.
Correct.
When are you ever going to come out of that state, right? When is it ever? Because here, I'm saying this for a reason.
You're right. Yes.
You've seen how old my artifact cube is. My horror cube being the oldest. They have had problems. They're fraught with problems.
Yes.
Every year I go, I'm going back to CubeCon. This is probably post that. every time I come back, feedback, this card's too good, this card's bad, why are you running this, right? It's never-ending cycle of
no
digging
doubt.
in the sand.
No doubt.
So
no
this
doubt.
will never reach some form of perfection.
It'll never reach perfection.
Even in paper.
No, absolutely, 100%.
So,
and I'm prepared. I'm very prepared
for that. As long as you hide behind the idea.
I don't need it.
We're doing therapy session.
I don't need it to be perfect.
As long as you're behind the digital format and never release this into paper, we never get to touch it, never get to really, like, I guess, understand the concepts and to have this whole meme of passing around.
Yeah.
There's a certain intimacy in the draft where I'm passing to the left and someone giggles at the goat. Right? That was the whole top of the episode. Versus less giggling in the digital format. We talked about this digitizing your cube. This would have come out by now. But there is a little bit of, like, I guess, appeal to touching the paper, being with your friends.
No doubt.
And getting these chuckles in the room.
I am a paper player. The reason why I built, and it started, we did this on a previous episode, the reason why I built Chris's Pauper Cube, actually, originally I figured I'd build that because I figured it would be really, really cheap. It ended up not being as cheap. Thank you, Ephemerate, for being really expensive and a few other cards.
How mad would you be at me if I just printed this cube out for you and sleeved it up?
I wouldn't.
It's so much easier.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. The thing is, what I expect to be able to get more reps with this cube online. So I was hoping to be able to get, let's say, 10 to 15 reps of being able to play it on Magic Online,
I get
Draftmancer.
the idea of dialing
and I feel like
over-investment.
I feel that is really the case because, like I said, some of these cards are really expensive. I don't want to, magical P word. I don't really want to proxy this cube. I want this to be a real Magic card. Everything is how I want it. I want to buy. The paper version will be called the Herodric Cube. I want to get a nice box for it, the whole 9 yards. I want this to be something that is meaningful because the video games were very meaningful. They gave me kind of an escape when I had nothing else to do and times were bad in my life and all that kind of stuff. Same way that Magic has in general. It's surprising that the games and Magic kind of aligned for me because they were both there at a time where I had kind of other crappy things going on and they came at a good time and I needed something. I needed a distraction.
Yeah.
These came at a good time in my life. I want to respect it the same way that I want to respect Magic. So I want to put this together the way that I want it to. I want to present it. I want to be able to bring it to our group and say, here it is. I've built this. You guys might have played it online, but now here it is. I thank you for all of the feedback. And now we're going to jam.
I want to talk about one more horrific card in the horror aspect of what we're talking about. That's an overarching theme.
Yes.
This card beat the crap out of me. Could you please tell people what this card does? What's interesting about your cube is you've made things that would be like casual EDH centric, right? A slower play.
No doubt.
But
this is the bracket thing, right? Commander cards that have no place.
But it's become balmy. It's become so balmy, so terrifying. I have 2 now. I'm going to make you talk about one more, but let's do Malphagor real quick.
Okay, Malphagor.
Why is this in here?
2 colorless, 2 black, 2 red, legendary creature, demon, dragon, flying 6/6. When Malphagor enters the battlefield, discard your hand. Each opponent sacrifices a creature for each card discarded this way.
This card beat me to death.
It's a house,
and I loved it.
It's wonderful.
I was so excited.
It's 6 mana. I hope you win.
It's double black, double red.
It
is
is
so much work, but
it
because of the throttling, we joked about your lands. This is very doable.
The color pips are not the problem. The speed, maybe. Okay, I'll get that.
I don't see this as a problem. This felt very fair to me.
Well, let's take just a very brief moment to talk about the fixing because I think this is worthwhile. First of all, snow is like a prevalent theme.
Snow, it's not.
Snow, it is. So the reason why I wanted that is because there is the Act 5 in Diablo 2, which is based out of the Harrogath town, and this is a big reason why I thought it would be fun to introduce snow as an important element in the cube. One of the, I don't want to call it a stipulation, but one of the relaxing of restrictions almost, if you will, is that, and I did not communicate this well during the last draft. I will make sure to do so in the future. So when I have this in paper, when I build it, all of the basics will be snowlands. I have snowlands on MTGO that I've kind of divvied out to people, and that if they need some, I'll hand them out. But there are 2 of each of the snowlands that enter the battlefield tapped, but that have the types, right? So as an example, like Highland Forest and Arctic Treeline, Snowfield Sinkhole, so they have both of the land types as well as they are snow type, right? Yeah. So all of the lands are also snow. So this is an important element of the cube, is that snow is not just represented within the play of the cube, because there are a lot of cards that care about snow basics, but snow is represented in the mana base. But also, they all give you color options, right? As well as, so all of the duels give you that double, as well as now you have access to all of the, like, the triome, even, if you will, of the colors through the landscape. So I feel like your ability to get to double and even triple color should be fairly trivial.
And I love how you go mechanical breakdown on everything. This is what I adore about you. But if I'm going back to thematic aesthetics,
yes,
there is something scary. I mean, an alpine meadow looks wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's not wonderful to be in an alpine meadow with no gear, no survival gear.
No.
So I look at it when I build my cubes and I design them, I think about, like, I guess, where do you put yourself this scenario, right? So if you're in a woodland chasm that's a swamp forest, it's beautiful, it's vista, but it's not somewhere you want to be without gear. No. You're not prepped, right? No. There's a certain amount of fear involved in these ideas. Even though I get that there's a loneliness behind this idea. I know I'm going deep.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going deep, but it fits the aesthetic of Diablo. You're one or a party.
There is a party system. And this is maybe me kind of showing my preference and my personality. I am a solo player when it comes to video games, right? So I like that solitary element of it, especially with games where survival is such a big element of the gameplay. So you're absolutely right. And maybe it's kind of by accident in a way, or maybe it's just the aesthetic of Magic in general, that you have this kind of foreboding sense of loneliness and solitary, that if you were there by yourself and you have nothing to protect yourself, you have no gear, and maybe that's part of your leveling up and acquisition of loot and gear when you're playing an RPG, right?
Now you're seeing where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an element, obviously, that's a big part of any kind of RPG, kind of looting hacker slasher, which was what Diablo was. But I feel like that is a difficult sort of gameplay line for a card game, right? Because I don't know if I could really line that up. So sort of focusing on the aesthetics and that solitary sort of feeling, and the doom and the gloom and the horror, like, that is definitely something that I wanted to represent a lot. Like, themes are a big deal for the cube, for sure.
So as we kind of wrap up,
we're going to talk about the most important card in the cube.
Possessed Goat.
Possessed Goat.
Why is it in here?
Why is it in here? So it's in here because, number one, it's a goat, and there are goat men in Diablo. Number two, because it becomes a demon, and there are demons in Diablo. And number three, because it was really bloody hard to find one-drops that weren't just completely off theme in white for the Diablo cube.
Well, it's not what I was looking for at all. Actually, what I wanted you to say was, it brings me joy. That's it. I mean, that's literally it. I'm passing this around. Anthony chuckles. There's a Possessed Goat.
It does bring me joy.
That's it.
It does bring me some amount. There's other cards that bring me joy outside of it. Like, I do like this card. It's funny. The cards that bring me joy, though, because this is so sort of near and dear to my heart, if you will, there's a lot of cards that really do bring me joy. This is a card that I think is more on that whimsical side. So I love that you kind of highlighted that as some of the design choices that we've looked at, and the cards that I've chosen are definitely in that space, but absolutely ridiculous
and amazing. And then other than that, we're going to move on to the socials.
All right. As always, I want to start out a huge thanks to all of our Patreons, to Patrick, Jeff, to Nick LaPointe, Chris Fitzgerald, Timber Dragon, Brian Christensen, Keaton Schultz, Lord Justice, to Preston, to Sam McKenna. A big thank you to all of you guys for just helping keep the lights on here at UberCube and all of the ongoing support. You can also use our inkedgaming.com/UberCube affiliate link if you want to get some nice large volume and custom products available there for your Magic experience, be it Cube or whatever else you're into. Come hang out with us on the socials. You can follow us at ubercubemtgpodcast.bsky.social or at ubercubemtgpod on Twitter. If you got a longer comment or question about this episode or a previous episode or just the podcast in general, you can reach us at ubercubemtgpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a YouTube channel, ubercubemtgpodcast 747, if you want to go check out episodes there. And once again, a big thanks to all of our Patreons at patreon.com/ubercube. Much appreciated for all the ongoing support. And with that,
And now we're going to say what we always say here at Uber Cube is possessed goats.
Fresh meat.
Bad. Happy Cube.
Happy Cubing.